Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. This week, it's hockey night in the Old Dirty Basement.
Heck yeah, man. Come for the hockey, stay for the camaraderie.
That's great. We're talking to a super duper cool NHL ref and NHL player.
Yeah, Kerry, Fraser, and legendary NHL referee, and Christian Hanson. Shout out to John Jerrio, the Juice Man, Pucks of Pros. Yeah, got us all hooked up with that.
Thanks, Juice.
Yeah, that was awesome. We got to sit down with Kerry, interview him, and then had a nice little Zoom call with Christian. So take a listen to these interviews and let us know what you think. We hope you enjoy them. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying the show, leave that 5-star rating, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you may be, and sit back, relax, and enjoy hockey night in the Old Dirty Basement. Yeah, we're real excited for you guys to hear the two interviews we have. We have Kerry, Fraser, and Christian Hanson coming up. Before that, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about the event we were at, the Pucks with Pros with the Juice Man. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. These hats we got, this Violent Gentleman it's called, and I brought one for Zap. Zap was away that weekend.
I am so sorry to have missed that.
Yeah, it was a great time. Now, you did get to talk to Christian, which was cool. We did the Zoom with Christian, but these Violent Gentleman hats are pretty high quality.
Yeah, I was happy to get one of those. I tell you what, I still use it to this day.
Yeah.
It's a great hat. And I'll tell you what, looking around on their website, I see that they have some great apparel available for the Hoth Wampas.
Yeah.
Hoth Wampas.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Violent Gentlemen, they say they honor the unwritten rule of hard fought battles on the ice and the handshakes that you give after. So, you're violent on the ice, you play as hard as you can, but we're all gentlemen outside of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great company.
It seems like a cool name too for like hockey gear, Violent Gentleman. I think it sums up basically like what hockey players are. They're probably violent on the ice, but they seem to be cool and like gentlemen. That's the guys I met down there. They were like super cool to talk to, but out on the ice, man, they can get violent when they have to. But these are like really cool. Thanks again to the Juice Man and Pucks with Pros for hooking us up with that. And of course, our buddy Jeff Carlson hooked us up with the Pucks. Christian Hanson for sitting down with us for that cool interview. It was cool to talk to him via Zoom. And then, of course, Kerry Fraser, the ref. What awesome stories, and that was awesome. So we hope you guys enjoy this. And I guess that's it. You guys got anything else before we get into this?
Yeah, again, a double thanks to Violent Gentlemen. The great apparel, man. You guys check it out online, Violent Gentlemen. Timeless hockey apparel. Looks great. Very cool. Comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, Matt said it all.
Yep.
Great clothes, great company, great everything.
Yep, violentgentleman.com if you want to be cool like us and get some hats like that.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy. Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Nutley Nick.
Here with legendary NHL ref, Kerry Fraser. How's it going?
Hey, it's great to be with you guys.
Oh, thanks,
Awesome,
Kerry.
Awesome. So, how long have you been referee? When did you start?
I went into the NHL in 1980. My first contract with the NHL was right out of playing junior A hockey in Ontario. And I was a good little player, played tough, played big, captain of the Sarnia team in the Southern Junior A League. Mark Howell was one of the guys we played against. And I had a bunch of U.S. college scholarship offers, decided not to take that route, was going to play in the minor pro leagues. And guy that played pro hockey with my dad, who was coaching in the IHL by the name of Ted Garvin. He went on to coach the Detroit Red Wings, and Ted saw me play from the time I was in diapers, and he said, listen, why don't you get into refereeing? He said, you're not going to make the NHL as a player. You're probably going to get hurt. And I went to a referee school, got scouted at it. 2 days later, I was at the NHL training camp for referees and linesmen and dropped the stick and the gloves and boom, picked up a whistle.
So is this accurate on the internet? It said you started skating at 15 months?
15 months old. My dad was playing in the International Hockey League, and he would take me to practice, and the trainer would put my little skates on, and I'd be out there first pushing a chair around. And then I had a hockey stick in my hand from the time I could stand up, and I used the stick, and these big ugly guys were coming skating at me. I remember as a little guy, no teeth and they're ugly, and and I would be slapping pucks at them to keep them away from me.
No helmets back in the day too.
No, of course not. I had pretty good salad back then too.
Yeah.
And I notice all you guys are wearing hats, so you got the bad hair.
Yeah, we're starting to lose it a little bit.
Or lack of hair.
Speak for yourselves.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Not like you though.
Well,
that's something else.
That's
impressive.
It's like a Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
And that hair.
I got to
Yeah.
tell you, every time you say something, you're going to get a story because we moved down from our hometown in Sarnia, Ontario. We moved into southern New Jersey, Philadelphia Flyer country. I bought Mike Keenan's house when he got fired and went off to Chicago, 1988. My kids came home from high school one time, and my daughter Jess said, "Hey, Dad, did you know that you're in the top 10 best hair?"
Oh, wow.
I said, "You're kidding. What's that all about?"
Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, you're like number 3. Brad Pitt was number 1, and Jimmy Johnson was number 10."
Top 3 or
you
top
go.
number
Top
10.
Number 10.
Yeah,
Oh.
Jimmy Johnson, number 10.
Wow.
See, I
That's
wish my dad was here because he would enjoy that hair.
He'd like to run his fingers through it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going that far.
Yeah.
But he's growing his out for like the first time since I was a kid.
Yeah.
He's 75, but yeah, he still has all his hair.
Good for him.
Not as good looking as that though, but
Yeah.
he's trying. He's
All
trying.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Mike Keenan, isn't there a story with you and him in a house?
Oh, yeah. So Keenan was he went from Chicago, the Rangers won the Cup. Now he goes to St. Louis for a brief period. Then he went on to Boston before he went on to Calgary and everywhere else. And so we were in the 2-referee system at that point when he was in Boston. And he was just beating up my young referee partner, yelling and screaming at him a stoppage of play. And I was the back ref, and I had to do the line change. So I went over, and I wanted to get him off the kid. I stuck my finger in Mike's face right at the bench, and I went, "Mike, that effing house you sold me, the roof's leaking." All the players started laughing, right? And he backed up. His eyes got big. He put his hands up, open palms. He said, "Kerry, honest, I thought I got it fixed."
That's funny.
They probably told
did.
him it was fixed, but they didn't fix
Well,
it.
2
Right.
weeks later, we got a big rainstorm in Voorhees. I had 3 fireplaces in the place, and the water was pouring down the chimneys.
Down all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a good story.
That is cool. That's wild. And all that, and I'm sure during the game and stuff, there's chirping and stuff, and you guys are talking out there on the ice. That's just crazy. So I have something here too. Is this true that you're one of 3 that were grandfathered in to not have to wear helmets for?
Yeah, for
anything?
sure. For a number of years, 1979, the players were, they had to wear helmets unless they were grandfathered in. I came in 80. There was no mandate for the referees or linesmen at that point to wear helmets. John D'Amico, Ray Scampanello, all those guys. I didn't wear a helmet when I refereed in the minor pro leagues, the American League. So it was just a natural thing, and it became like the hair became kind of my
Iconic,
mojo.
yeah.
You can't cover up that hair.
No, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
well,
either,
he's
yeah.
a national treasure. So,
He's right.
well, in our final collective bargaining agreement, now this is 4 years before I retired, so we're looking 2006. I'm negotiating with the league. Bill Daly sitting across the table from me, our lawyer sitting beside me. And in the first meeting in the NHL office, Bill Daly slid the proposal to our lawyer with the exception of the last page. He slid it over to me with a grin on his face. I turned the page over. It said, "All officials, regardless of tenure, will wear a helmet and a visor for the duration of this collective bargaining agreement." I ripped the page in half. I slid it back to him, and I said, "Non-negotiable." Well, you can see how good a negotiator I was because
Right.
I started with a helmet.
Oh. That's crazy.
Now, was that the same year with the players, too, being grandfathered in? Because there's one player I remember, Craig McTavish.
Mac T was the last guy not to
Yeah,
wear a helmet.
right.
Yeah, and you know what's funny because Gretzky wore that little Jofa helmet, and this may sound strange to people listening, but I had radar like you can't believe. When I didn't wear a helmet and I wasn't protected, I had extrasensory kind of perception. I knew where everybody was on the ice, and the puck would come, and I'd see it coming slow like a goalie that would say, you know what, when their game is on, it
In the
looks like a
zone,
beach
yeah.
ball, right?
Yeah.
I would see the puck coming like that, and it was just slow, and I'd slip it, I'd move it.
You're like the Matrix,
Well,
like
yeah,
Neo. You know
there
what I
you
mean?
go. So, and Mac T said the same thing. He said, you know, guys would respect you. They keep their sticks down.
Mm-hmm.
And Gretz the same thing. He said, I felt more aware when I had this hardly protection helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I had to wear a helmet, I got hit in the head 5 times in the
geez.
corner
Right.
with sticks. But so I'm trying out a chest protector one time. From a guy back in Strathroy, Ontario, that said, "Yeah, this disperses. You get hit in the chest. The puck just disperses the energy, whatever."
Right.
So I'm in a game in Boston, no helmet on, And Sean O'Donnell is on the power play for the Bruins. Far side, I'm leading the play in. He pounds a slap shot that is cross ice, and I'm inside the blue line leading the play. And it's coming, and I think, oh, this is a good one to try out the chest protector. It's about the right height. I'm going to square up, and I'm going to take it in the chest. And I see the puck coming, and it's about a 95-mile-an-hour slap shot. It's coming, but then it started to rise. And at the last second, I went, oh, too high, too hard, and I hit the deck, and I actually felt the brush of the puck on my hair. And the play-by-play guy for the Bruins goes, and down goes Fraser.
That's awesome.
And Gordy Kluzak, color guy, he says, and not a hair out of place.
Not a hair out of place, yeah. That's
I've heard that many times on watching TV
Yeah.
and watching the games. About your hair. Not a hair out of
You know,
place.
Scotty Gomez, I see you with the Devils on, and you got the 90,
93.
93.
The 100-year patch.
I did that, yeah. I did that final. Anyway, so Scotty Gomez, in every game that I did, even when he was playing in Montreal, he'd say, before I dropped the puck, he'd say, listen, first commercial stoppage, over that sign by the boards, he said, you and I go stand there, and I got a photographer, he's going to take a picture of us. I don't know what the heck he was doing with these pictures every game.
Right.
So my final game, and he's in Montreal, and I go out afterwards. My wife's with me, and we run into his dad, Carlos, and we have a few beers. They invite me to come out to Alaska to his charity event, and I gave him a jersey from my last game to auction off. So his mother meets me, they invite me to the house, and she's a hairdresser. And she came up to me, instead of hugging me, she grabbed my hair and was running her fingers through it. She said, I've been waiting to rub my hands through your hair forever.
That's what. Yeah, if he wasn't feeling up to your game that day, just a little extra hairspray, you probably felt a little more safe.
Well, you know, I wore 3 jerseys in my final game in Montreal. One first period was for Gomer. The second period was for the Prime Minister at the time, and the third one I was going to keep for myself. So I said to Scotty before the puck drop, I said, listen, this first period jersey's for you. We'll try and get it game worn, and you can do what you want. Oh, great. Thanks, Fraser. So with 30 seconds left, I had no marks on the jersey. So I went over to him. He's coming out for the face-off. I said, listen, at the end of the period, we got to get this looking game worn. I said, I want you to come over at the end of the period, look like you're mad at me, give me a scowl, chirp me, and then take your stick and rub it on my sleeve like you're mad. I said, we'll get a black mark on it. So sure enough, he came over, blah, 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 giving me the little stink, and he rubbed his stick on it, but nothing came off.
Nothing off.
So I grabbed a stick and I went, Gomez, give me that stick. And I rubbed it hard, and I got some black mark on it. I said, now get out of here.
Yeah.
There you go. Dave and I played high school football together in local area, and there was times like warming up, we'd like fall a little bit extra.
Try to get each other's helmets and try to get stick marks. You know what I mean? Just
Get the grass on it.
Yeah,
Right.
when the team bus came back, like, man, they played a hell of a game.
Yeah,
they
looked like we got
they
in a
were
game
in there
there.
today.
We used to do that stuff. Yeah.
Well, the cheerleaders like that.
That's right. That's right. So it says here too, you the '98 Olympics. You did
Yes.
that. That's awesome.
It was cool. Yeah, it was the first time that they allowed the pros in, and it was a great experience. My wife was the only one that came of the wives. The rooms were so small in Japan. She had to get her own room.
Oh, wow.
We had to tie skate laces up to hang our gear up.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was
Like a box, probably. Yeah, because there's so many people. I guess everything's built so high, so
Yeah.
small.
And I'm not the biggest guy in the world anyway, but
Right. Yeah.
But for a wife and family, like life on the road or being an NHL ref, I mean, are you pretty much gone most of the time during the season?
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons we moved from our hometown of Sarnia, Ontario, 60 miles north of Detroit, across from Port Huron, Michigan. And the only home game, if you will, for a referee was if I had a Red Wing game.
Okay.
Everything else I was on the road. Even Toronto, you get bad weather in the winter time, you'd have to stay overnight. And Buffalo, brutal, snow belt, and anything West Coast. But even if I was in the old Patrick division, I might have days off between games with Islanders, Rangers, and Devils, and I'd be on the road. So we did a search the year before of a location, and we had a list, kids, school, etc., and travel for me. And Philadelphia filled the bill because if you do a radius around all the teams, 100 miles plus, more teams are in the Philly area than anywhere else. So even, when I did as many games in Los Angeles and Vancouver as I would in the Philly market, but when I was in that division, I was home at night after the games.
Cool.
Now,
That's the thing about this area, though, real quick, is that's why the roads are horrible around, central PA area, because it's central to so many big cities.
Yeah.
We're 3 hours pretty much from any major city around the East Coast. But
Right.
that was just a little fun fact.
Now, as a ref, did you get your schedule before the season? Like
No,
you
no,
knew exactly?
No. We would get them a month to a month and a half at a time, and typically 3 to 4 weeks in advance of that. We would get our game assignments, game numbers. We'd look up in the schedule. You had to be here, here, and there, and I would map out my travel. I would call the league travel arranger. I would pick the airline and the flight number and how I wanted to travel. I was an old dog. I had a lot of experience, and I knew how I wanted to travel. And they'd book it for me. There were certain criteria. If I was West Coast, I wanted to get home as quick as I could. I'd take the red eye after a game if I could, get home, sleep on the plane, and spend as much quality time with family as I could. One of the things, guys, that your listeners may be interested in is about how to succeed in a demanding job like officiating. You're the bad guy out there typically, no matter where you are in any
win.
building. You're 50% right at best.
Right.
And so I found very early that developing relationships with players was the key to my longevity and to my success. And it actually started with a dispute with Wayne Gretzky, the great one, in my very first game with him in Northlands Coliseum. The Broad Street Bullies, Philadelphia Flyers, were playing, and Wayne took what I thought was a dive in the very first opening face-off. Within 5-10 seconds, he was looking at me with a side look before he even hit the ice as to whether my arm was going up.
Right.
And I had the little man syndrome. I learned something really about myself after that game, that I got very stubborn. I got chip on the shoulder, little man syndrome, and I was going to teach him. And I made him play on his knees that night. There were no fouls called when he was fouled.
Right.
I called the other penalties, and with a minute and change left in the game, and the Oilers down by 1, they obviously wanted a power play. Wayne was in his office behind the net, and Pelly Lindbergh caught the puck, God rest his soul. I blew the whistle, stopped play, and in his office behind the net with nobody around him, he jumped in the air, threw his hands out one way, feet in the other, boom, did a belly flop on the ice. Bobby Clark skated over with no teeth. He said, "Get up, Gretzky, you effing baby." I went over, I said, "Wayne, what are you doing?" I said, "There wasn't a guy within 15 feet of you." He said, "You wouldn't have called it anyway. You haven't called an effing thing all night." I said, "You're right. I'm going to start right now." Boom. I teed him up.
Yeah.
"You got 2 for unsportsmanlike conduct." He said, "Thanks. It's about effing time you called something." And he stormed off the ice. Now, seems like a funny story, but not so funny. Because after every game, I replayed it, and I've got a memory like a friggin' trap. And it just is like a VCR. And so after that game, I was back in the hotel, and what could I have done better? Obvious. I had to be better. What was it about me internally that caused me to treat a player like that? And I recognized the deficiency I had. And the next game I saw Wayne Gretzky, I apologized to him before the game, and I said, "Listen, I was really wrong about that, and I apologize. It was a good lesson for me, but do me a favor. Stay on your feet. If you're fouled, the arm will go up." And it was really a defining moment, I think, for me to work at developing relationships with players.
It may have changed Gretzky's career. Maybe he wouldn't have been who he is today.
Yeah,
if
I'll
not
take
for that. If not for that moment.
Oh, big time!
There
I'll
you
take
go.
credit for that.
Changing lives.
Oh yeah.
Could have motivated him. Yeah, you're right.
Who would you say is? I guess I don't know. I can't even say the best or the most talented.
Well, Gretz was he did things that were just mind-boggling. Now, in terms of the complete guy, and Wayne made everybody around him better too, but Mark Messier was incredible. What a captain, what a leader. And he had a stare that could turn people to stone. And I had a great relationship with Mess. And every game he'd come out, he looked like a pond skater. He just loved to skate. He'd smile, and first out of the chute, he'd skate up behind me, he'd tap me in the butt, and he'd say, "Hey, Fraser, good to see you. How you doing?" But I'll tell you, when it was game on, and I did game 6, when he promised the win against the
Let's
Devils.
not talk about that. I was at that game, and I was very unhappy.
So was I. At the end of the second period, I'd just given Estetikin a kneeing penalty. He needed Stéphane Richer. And we came into the dressing room. I said to the 2 linesmen, "Stick a fork in these Rangers. They're done." I thought they were done.
Over.
And Mess came out and just lit it up. 3 goals. Boom. Unbelievable. So in the final game, we talk about relationships.
Speaking of players,
Yeah. No, he wasn't a
We
player.
gotta get him over
He's
here.
a clown.
Graham Marshall just walked by.
What
Yeah.
a great guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, in Mark Messier's final game, it's Madison Square Garden, and their second last game, they had one on the road. I was called to go into the game last minute. Buffalo, I think, was playing, and there was something that Buffalo had a chance to get into something, playoffs, or so I was put into the game. Mess this night was different. When he came out onto the ice, he was heavy-hearted. He didn't come up behind me and tap me in the butt with a stick. There wasn't a smile. And it was just him and I standing there after the national anthem, and he had his stick across his knees, and he looked over at his family sitting behind the penalty box. And he looked up at me, and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, "Kerry, I wouldn't have wanted anybody here but you tonight."
Oh, wow.
My heart went like, wow. I didn't even know he was considering retirement.
Wow.
And that was a moment with a great player over the number of years from 1980 to that point when he was going to retire.
That's
and
awesome.
there's something too in the position you were in to be able to see stuff like that, see pretty much it's history.
Yeah,
I mean,
up close and be there for
anybody in sports to see moments like that, but by pure athletes is something that would be really
also
cool.
share it, because who would have suspected this captain, this guy that took them, to the Stanley Cup in '94, that was such a feared guy that could turn you to stone with a look. And there was that soft side, that love of the game, and this was going to be his last moment.
Last one.
Yeah.
So, Kerry, we do every Thursday vintage cinema review. We pick old movies and review them. We just did an interview with Jeff Carlson, obviously from Slapshot.
Yep.
So, which is a great movie. Obviously, it's great. But what would you say is your favorite hockey movie?
Well, I've got to go with Slapshot. I mean, I think that they really, like my career, longevity.
Right.
That thing survives. I
Forever.
mean, it just never stops, and the next generation watches it, and it. Paul Newman was spectacular.
Yes.
And I have done a lot of things with the Hanson brothers on tour, and to hear some of the stuff, again, sitting around having a beer afterwards and in the locker room, and the crazy stuff that they did, which I'm sure he shared.
Yes, he did share quite a few of it.
Like filling his Paul Newman's sauna in his suite with popcorn.
Oh, we didn't hear that one.
Yeah, wow. Now we're getting all the inside
All
stuff.
right, where is this guy? We got to get that story.
Yeah.
Well, when he took him out, the two guys took him out. The other one got the key at the front desk.
Oh,
and
wow.
Newman said he never drank more beer than with the two guys.
Yeah.
So they're out drinking beer, and Newman loved popcorn.
Yeah.
Paul Newman popcorn.
I
right?
got him, yeah.
Newman's own, yeah.
He had to have a sauna put in his suite, so the one guy filled it to the roof with freaking popcorn.
That's funny.
That's
Next
wild.
morning, Newman's a little, from the night before, he's going to fire up the sauna. He opens the door and the popcorn comes.
Just pours out.
I did want to ask who was the toughest, as in not a goon, not
Bob
to say that.
Probert.
Okay,
That's
there
funny.
it is.
We covered Bob Probert. He actually told me about this
Yeah, a lot
documentary.
of-
We watched it, and it was a wild story.
Yeah, because I was always into, like, Probert could kick ass, but we did ask Jeff, and he said his brother might be able to take him. So
I got to tell you, Proby,
that's what the players call him, Proby.
Proby.
he
Yeah.
would rope a dope. He would take punches like you can't believe, and the linesman would want to get in, and you'd shake them off. No, get out of here, get out, go away. And finally, when he took enough of the punches of the guy and he was tired out, he would just come on and knock him
That's
out.
what, yeah, he just, and then
Unbelievable.
bam.
Hey, you want to hear a story about a tough guy? Jim
Okay, yeah.
McKenzie. Gentleman Jim McKenzie. Awesome guy, heavyweight, 6'3.5", 230 pounds.
Jeez.
Won the cup with the Jersey Devils. just a really nice guy from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, but a legitimate heavyweight champ.
Right.
And second year pro, he's playing for the Hartford Whalers. It's the final game of this regular season in Washington in the old Cap Center. Game over, nobody's mad. We just want to get it over with. He's playing for the Hartford Whalers. Ricky Lee's the coach, and we want to get into the playoffs. All the Whalers went off at the Zamboni entrance where the refs went off. The players, the stick boys, the trainers, the coaches. Big Jim McKenzie, 6'3.5", me, 5 foot nothing, and we step off on the rubber mat together. Jim looks down at me. He said, "Kerry, if I told you to F off, would you give me a misconduct?" I looked up. I said, "Jim, what are you talking about?" I said, "Game over, regular season over, nobody's mad." He said, "I got a bonus in my contract for penalty minutes, and I'm 4 PIMs short." And he said, "The damn Ricky Lee never played me one shift." So I thought for a second. I looked up at him. I said, "What'd you say?" Very quietly, gentlemanly, he said, "F off." I yelled at him, "Say it like you mean it." He yelled at me, "Fuck off." I said, "You got 10. He said, "Thank you." And he walked to the dressing room.
That's awesome.
Great story, man.
That is. That's
talk to you for hours.
Yeah,
These
I
are
mean,
just
there's
like really
a wealth of knowledge on that
Yeah.
stuff. So we also did a story on Spinner Spencer, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware that was a wild story too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we,
That was through Jericho told us about that.
yeah,
Jericho.
John, who,
Yeah.
who we're friends with. He, we like to cover from time to time like the sports stories and stuff like that have crime, involved and
Yeah.
stuff.
That was a tragic story.
Yeah.
His dad and making the drive.
Yeah, drive to go and say this was the game that's supposed to be on.
Yeah, at the TV station
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about doing one coming up on the guy that was going to try to buy the Islanders.
Right.
It was like a big con and stuff
Sure,
like that.
sure.
Yeah. So there's a couple of stories we're looking at. Do you have any like off the top of your head that'd be interesting? You think that to cover?
Well, you know what? I think anytime you can, one of the things that is a little bit lost in the game right now, in my opinion, is the personalities. We had some amazing personalities from the 70s and the 80s. There was such a rivalry between teams. We had some real fun guys, like Guy Lapointe. Guy Lapointe, they called him Point Two because he got 2 teeth and he looked like a beaver. So they called him Point Two. And he was just a clown. In a good way.
Yeah.
Right.
Hockey Hall of Fame guy. But so my first game, 1980, preseason game, Maple Leaf Gardens. I grew up in Sarnia, hockey night in Canada. I stepped on this ice and I'm like, wow, I'm in the big time, right? And it's a Saturday night. Montreal Canadiens playing Toronto Maple Leafs. This is like my Stanley Cup final. It's my first game.
Right.
And so I wanted to let on like I was a veteran, right? I knew the players by name, and so Darryl Sittler's the opening face-off guy, Guy Lafleur out there, all these guys, and game's going pretty good. I think I'm doing pretty good. With a little bit left in the third period, Guy Lapointe skated up to me, and his defense partner was Sir Savard, another Hall of Fame guy.
Right.
So he's given me a little bit of lip, and I wanted to let on like I'm the vet. I said, "Hey, listen, Serge, relax." He said, "My name is Guy, you fucking rookie." And he skated off. Now, 3 days later, I go to the other, cathedral of rinks, the Montreal Forum. And our linesman, Gerard Gauthier from Montreal, said, "Hey, listen, if you ever need your skate sharpened, the best guy in the league is Eddie Palchek, Montreal Canadiens skate sharpener." So I figure I'm going to get my skate sharpened
go
by the
for it.
best, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
go
listen,
for
my
it.
first trip into the Montreal Forum. So I send the skates with the room attendant. His name was Raymond. And I'm waiting, and I'm dressed, and it's time to go out for the start of the game. Roger Doucette, the famous national anthem singer for the Canadiens, he's ready to sing. I sent the 2 linesmen out. I said, "Raymond, where's my patiné, my skates? I need my skates." He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Fraser. I go get them." So he came running in with the skates. He said, "I'm sorry, they're so busy down there." And I jammed my feet in the skates. Shaving cream came flying out of those.
I knew there had to be something.
Something.
I
Yeah.
lace them up quick. I get out. I step just by Roger Doucette, and my left skate goes one way, my right skate goes the other. And there's Guy Lapointe standing beside Sir Savard on the blue line with a big shit-eating grin on his face. The national anthem ends. Guy Lapointe skates over. He says, "Hey, rookie, how are your skates tonight?" I said,
Took one side
"Perfect."
completely off.
What happened is he sharpened them. So Knuckles Nyland told me, oh yeah, he knew they were your skates. He sharpened them freehand. He didn't even put them in the
Put them on the
clamps.
thing. They're all crooked and stuff. That's
So,
funny.
you know, but here's another lesson for you. If I had reacted like a jackass, if I had
Yeah.
I would have been branded forever. But I laughed. I said,
being able to
you know,
laugh it off.
you got to
Yeah.
find the fun in
Yeah.
it.
Yep, I agree. I could see
One
where
last
that-
story.
Oh,
Sure.
cool.
No,
Okay.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm like a rookie. Danny Gare's playing in this game, and they sent me out west when my first year under contract, and there's a big brawl going on, and the home team's getting their ass kicked, and fans are frustrated. The home team players are frustrated, and I'm wheeling guys after every goal. They littered the ice. Players would come up, they complain. I'd bang them with a misconduct. I had them sitting 3 deep in the penalty box towards the end of the third period. The coach finally had enough of me, the hometown coach. He sends his captain over very politely. He says, Mr. Referee, my coach wants to know if he can get a penalty for thinking. I said, well, if he doesn't think out loud, he'll probably be okay. He said, in that case, he thinks you're a fucking asshole.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to have to use that one. That's good.
Yeah,
Well, I
right.
started laughing, and I looked over at the coach, and his scowl and his stern, and all of a sudden he grinned and he laughed, and I thought, you know what? I got to take a little lighter attitude out here.
Yeah, right. Right.
That is a lesson.
Hey, quick question. Maybe you'll know this. So I watched Slapshot this morning because we were going to talk to Jeff. Some of those refs had like red stripes. What was that all about? Do you know
Well,
anything
you know,
about-
when we first started, we had red armbands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in the minor leagues, the American League, we were under contract, but we had red bands, and we started with numbers, then we went to names in 79-80. They put the names on our backs.
back, okay.
And then after our strike, Gary Bettman decided we were a little too popular, and names
Names
were
went off.
persona non grata.
Yes.
I got you.
You know what's funny though? We were in the 2-referee system in the 98. We started infusing it in, and 94 we ended up with numbers on our backs, and didn't matter. You know, my partner would call a penalty, and the fans would chant, "Fraser sucks."
He can't win. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know. Like, I was number 2, but Fraser, you know, they still remembered.
Yeah, we all knew you. We all knew you.
I was just going to ask one question for taking your time. You're a great interview. Like
Well, thank you.
I'd say our
Definitely.
best. Like
Yeah.
you're well versed, well knowledge with the game. You can great talker, great hair.
Yeah. The whole package. Yeah.
We have a vintage cinema review, and I just want to know what was your growing up or now favorite movie, and then that way we can do a review of that.
Well, that's what he was saying about Slapshot.
Yeah, but you know what?
But it doesn't have to be a hockey movie. Just, just
I see what you're saying.
His
Movie
favorite
in general.
movie in
Oh,
general.
yes.
I'm a sentimental guy.
Okay.
Okay.
And I remember going to the movie theater and watching Ben-Hur.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was drawn into it. And the other Lassie.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I think Lassie would be a little more because Ben-Hur would be 5-6 hours watching that. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
a longer one.
And you know what? The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, it's a great one. Yeah.
the new one that
The Mel Gibson.
did.
Mel Gibson,
Yeah.
and we're coming up to Easter, and I got to tell you, that one is just riveting.
It's powerful.
It truly is
Okay,
powerful.
that's
Yeah.
three to choose from.
We're both Catholic school boys, so we grew up, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And watching that, and it was, yeah. There he is.
I have a crucifix ring on my baby
Oh,
finger.
cool.
Oh, look at that, yeah.
So Catholic boys, 1995. I wasn't Catholic. My wife is cradle Catholic. I had from 1995 a series of mystical events that occurred. I'm talking big time scary
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Not scary. It was beautiful, but
Right.
Life-changing.
If somebody had told me, the things that happened to me through 2001, I would have thought they were certifiably nuts. Anyway, so 1995, all I wanted for Christmas was a crucifix ring. My wife, a baby finger, my wife had it made for me. I never take it off. It's forever.
Yeah.
I wore it in the games. So it spun around sometimes, so you just saw a gold band. And I had a game in L.A. Gretz is playing there, and I had to talk to Barry Melrose. And I put my right hand on the bench dasher board right in front of Gretzky, and I'm looking up and I'm talking to Melrose. I finished the combo, and Gretzky looks at me and he goes, with his baby finger, he goes, "Oh, nice pinky ring."
Oh,
I went, spun it around, showed him the crucifix. I said, "Yeah, Wayne." I said, "Kathy got me this for Christmas." I said, "I've never taken it off. I love it." And you know when your eyes meet and it goes right to heart.
Oh yeah.
And Wayne, we connected in that moment, and it was like he went, "Good for you, man.
Yeah.
God bless."
Yeah.
And you know a funny story with his dad, right? So Wayne would go back to Brantford, and Sunday, like Saturday night, Walter's dad, awesome, sweetheart of a man, God rest his soul, and he'd say, "Now Wayne, you're going to go to mass tomorrow, right?" And yes, Dad. "Would you need some money for the collection?" And he'd reach in his pocket. Wayne said, "No, it's okay, Dad.
I think I'm all right.
I got it."
I got it, Dad. I
I think I'll be
got you
good.
covered.
Yeah.
Waiting on the next contract.
Keep doing the good stuff at Catholic school, boys.
We will,
We
yeah,
need
definitely.
more of that in this time in the world.
Yep. Yeah, my son and daughter. My son's at the high school, same one we went to, and then my daughter's at the grade school. So yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, our
definitely.
kids are actually the same grade
St.
school
Catherine's,
together.
locally, and then Bishop McDevitt, which is a big football around here. It's big for
Oh,
high school
yeah.
football.
Won the
Yeah.
state championship this year.
I've heard of Bishop McDowell.
Yeah,
can play.
LaShawn McCoy went there. Ricky Waters, I don't know if you remember back.
Well,
in
for sure I know
yeah,
Ricky Waters.
Yeah, they're both Bishop McDevitt boys. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, man, we appreciate you sitting down with us. It's an honor.
Yeah, this was
definitely,
great, man.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I know Nutley's in heaven. He's a big
hockey
time,
fan.
big hockey fan. So
Well, you know, the Devils, when they won the first time they got into the playoffs,
We talked about this
and
yesterday.
I had the game in Chicago, and it was like Johnny McLean scores in overtime, right?
That is it.
And boom. And
Because if they tied, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They had to win.
exactly. And we were watching the scoreboard, and we knew that the game in Quebec,
The Rangers won.
exactly. So Devils had to win. And it was a heck of a game. And there was so much excitement. Lou Lamoriello was waiting at the glass at the end. He came out on the ice. They're all hugging. And
Schoenfeld.
Jimmy Schoenfeld, I mean, it was amazing. And then they rolled into the playoffs with Sean Burke playing as a rookie. Awesome. That whole team, man, they really came of age in that moment. And then Game 3.
In Boston.
You
Right.
know, I had Game 2 in Boston, and that's when John McLean, we had two fights going, and check it out, John McLean punches referee Kerry Fraser. He hit me with his best shot between the eyes, and that's why he was a gifted scorer, because he couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag.
yeah,
So anyway, the Game 3 was the one where have another donut.
Koharski.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I cursed at you many times on the TV screen. It's like, God, what the hell is he calling?
Yeah,
He's
you're
calling-
the one.
okay.
You're the only one.
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
But you were fair. You were consistent.
Well, thank you.
Not like Koharski.
Consistently
have another
as in-
donut, you
yeah.
fat pig or something. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, that I'll tell you, that was really volatile, because then the next game, which was on a Sunday, and Dave Newell was the president of our NHL Officials Association. There was a judge who was a season's ticket holder that ended up getting and Shawnee was suspended for that game. The judge made a ruling and said he could coach that game. Dave Newell, president of our association, said, "There's no way we're going out." And that's what the delay was. I was waiting in Detroit to do the Western Conference final the next night. Billy Clement called me from ESPN and said, like, "What's going on?" I said, "We've already gotten a call from our lawyer. The guys have been fired. The yellow jerseys are out there refereeing. And if they're not reinstated, we're not working tomorrow night either." So it was, negotiations were going on throughout that next day. And I got a call at 4 o'clock and said, when we stayed near the Joe Louis at the Marriott Renaissance, and the lawyer said, "Okay, you can go to the rink. You guys are working," and it was that close. They had replacement guys waiting to do the game if we weren't.
wow,
I
That's
never
history.
knew that.
No,
I
of
mean,
course, nobody
it's
would know
wild.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
behind the scenes, man.
that's wild.
Wow.
That's awesome.
You heard it
Interesting.
here.
You heard it
You
here first, right?
You
right?
heard it here first.
Breaking
You know what I
news.
said to Koharski? I said, "Listen, this is an opportunity, man." I said, "Tim Horton has like amazing profitability in donuts. Why don't you open Coho Donuts?
Yeah, you're right. Good
Or you
marketing
even
there.
team up with Shawnee?"
Yeah. Well, why don't you do hair products? Do you do that?
You know, I wish I could have.
Yeah.
I had a game in Buffalo in the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
Boston playing in the old auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
No security. We would walk out of our dressing room and boom, the fans are right there.
Mm-hmm.
Boston wins 1-0 in this game. Nothing happened. It was a good game, and I didn't feel like, we did anything wrong.
Right.
And this lady come up, got right in my face. She stuck her finger in my face. She said, "Kerry, I got a question for you." I thought, oh, God, here we go. Here we go. I set my bag down. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Listen," she said, "I got problem hair. You skate 100 miles an hour out there. Your hair never moves. What's your secret?" I said, "Paul Mitchell Freeze and Shine."
There it is.
For the tough days.
Oh.
She said, "Great. I'm going to go buy a case of it."
Yeah.
That's no LA looks, man. That's the upper crust of the hair
Paul
products.
Mitchell is
Yeah,
like
that's the
high-end.
Paul Mitchell elites.
That's right.
One thing fans don't realize is that there's some volatility too with referees. I mean, I've had death threats.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Monday night
I'm sure.
Monday Night Miracle in St. Louis. You can look it up on YouTube. It was Game 6 in 1987 in the or 86 in the Western Conference Final. They're playing Calgary. Game 6. They had to win. They're down 3 at the end of the second period. I'd just given Rob Ramage, the captain, a wicked slashing penalty. I figured that they were giving up. So Jacques Demers was coaching St. Louis, and I said to Rammer when he came out of the penalty box, I said, "Listen, I'm reading you the riot act. You go tell that Jacques, get some control in this team, some discipline, or I'm going to fill the box. It's game over, series over." "Ah, yeah, whatever." He skates away. 2 giant policemen in uniform step out of the penalty box. They grab me. They say, "Come on, let's go around the glass. We got to get you off the ice." Go off the Zamboni entrance around the glass, and we sit in the dressing rooms. Ray Scampanello and Ron Finn are the 2 linesmen. Big police officer says, "It's my duty to inform you that you've had a death threat." I went, had him before.
Yeah,
no big
not
deal.
bothering.
Some guy at home, right, drinking his Budweiser, calls in, gonna kill me, right? They said, "No. The guy's in the building." We traced the call, came from a phone inside the St. Louis arena. He says he has a gun, and if you come out for the third period, he's going to shoot you.
Wow.
So I took a breath, and I looked over at Scampanello. We're the same size, and we skate fast the same kind of way, no helmets. And I thought, Scampy's thinking he's going to get plugged, dude. Mistaken identity, right?
Yeah.
So I said, "I'm going out." That's all there is to it. They posted outside the door. I go down the ramp in the old St. Louis arena. They pull the canopy out, and I get to the bottom, and I'm looking for my backup behind me, my 2 linesmen, right? They are so far back. They're standing at the top of the freaking the ramp, and I waved them down. I said, "Come on, you guys." They went, "No, you go, you
You're
go."
good.
So they sent me out alone. I zigzagged as fast as I could around the ice one time. No gunshot, and they came out.
That was it.
St. Louis tied it they scored 3 goals in 13 minutes and 30-some seconds, I believe it was, and went into overtime. Doug Wickenheiser, God rest his soul, scored the winning goal in OT, and they lost 1-0 in Game 7 in Calgary.
I guess that guy didn't see you dodge that puck. Yeah, he did a hard
Exactly.
target, you know what I mean? Do that Matrix stuff.
Yeah, another
Crazy.
Matrix.
Yeah. But man, this is an honor. It was cool to hear all that stuff. Any other quick questions?
Nah,
before we-
yeah, it's an honor.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
so can we,
Thank
Best,
you.
best
Thank
goalie
you.
you ever saw play.
Marty Brodeur.
There it is. Yeah.
Now, is that because I'm wearing a devil?
No. I got to tell you, Marty, I'd look in his mask, and he was calm. And Grant Fuhr was another really calm guy. My first Stanley Cup final, 85, I had Game 4 in Edmonton. It was a terrific game. I had the Flyers down 2 men. There was one of the Sutter twins intercepts a D-to-D pass. He's going on a breakaway, foul from behind. I got a penalty shot. So I go into Grant, and I'm looking in his mask, and I'm saying, "Listen, you let me know when you're ready, and don't leave the crease until he touches the puck." And he just looked at me, shrugged his shoulders. He said, "Send him. Send him." It was like, okay. Blew the whistle. Stopped the Sutter on the penalty shot, and just so calm and cool. And then at the other side of the coin, you had like Billy Smith,
Oh, hothead.
right? You had Ronnie Hextall.
Another
bang-
one.
Yeah.
Hextall with the slap,
so-
slap.
Yeah.
I always tried to get the goalies, I'd try and get them on my side a little bit. So Billy Smith, you being a Devils fan and probably hated the Islanders, but they were the best teams I saw with Al Arbor in those four
Those
cups.
4 years,
Oh,
yeah.
amazing. So my first game with Bill Smith, and I'd watched him. He'd whack guys with his stick, and he did stuff in the playoffs. Great playoff performer. So I went up to him, and before I dropped the puck, and I said, "Listen, Mr. Smith," I said, "I've watched your career." I said, "You're amazing. Really like the way you play. And I said, it appears to me that you just like to be defend your crease and not have guys bump you. And if they do, I'm going to give them a penalty. He said, great, kid, we'll get along fine. I said, but on the other hand, I've seen when guys are in your crease and you use your stick and you whack them. I said, if you do that, I'm going to give you a penalty. He said, kid, if I whack him with the stick, you better effing call it because everybody's going to see it.
That's why.
The best referee? What, besides me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's right.
gotta be put that out there. Like, God.
You know what? Coming up, I had some wonderful mentors. John McCauley, God rest his soul. Wes McCauley is his dad. John was just a wonderful guy. Dave Newell, another guy. My first training camp, I'm 20 years old. I'm at the NHL training camp for officials. I'm sitting here, like, I didn't know anything about officiating. I wanted to be a player. And here I am for 13 days at this training camp, and to be infused with these guys, and we're going through rules and this and that. And there was a guy, Lloyd Gilmore. Lloyd Gilmore refereed the Russian game in Philadelphia when the Russians left the ice. He called virtually nothing. And so I'm sitting beside Lloyd Gilmore, and we were talking about, in the rule book, there was an option where a referee could call 2 minutes or 5 minutes for spearing. We had the option back then. Mm-hmm. Now it's 5 and gone. So I said to Lloyd, Lloyd, what's the difference between a 2-minute spearing penalty and a 5-minute spearing penalty? Mm-hmm. He said, well, kid, if you see the stick go in, it's 2. If you see it come out his back, it's 5.
That's wild.
We had some characters, and it was having the ability to sit in a room and just listen. And fortunately, I was enough of a player to know that as a rookie, you could learn a lot more by just sitting and listening and not talking. And now I non-stop talk.
Yeah. But it's your wealth of knowledge. So it's definitely like you said. It's somebody that's been around and been in it is going to have the stories and situations that come up that maybe you could learn from. And
you want to be accepted. Everybody wants to be accepted, and you have to earn respect. Mm-hmm. You have to give respect to get respect.
Right.
And my first training camp, and after 3 or 4 days, some of the veterans, Dave Newell came to me and he said, listen, some of the veterans really like the way you skate and they like the way you behave. We'd like to take you out tonight. We want you to come out with us. That was a signal, like
you're accepted or
you're being welcomed into the group. So then I went out and we had quite a few, and next day we're back on the ice and we're doing our stuff, and I'm showering up before we go to our next session, and I feel, as I got shampoo in my hair and I'm getting lathered up, I feel this cold, warm stream on the back of my leg. And I turn around and it's Art Scove, #1 in the NHL, and he's pissing on my leg. He's initiating me.
Oh, wow.
And I went, Mr. Scove, I've learned it's better to be pissed on than pissed off. And he laughed, he giggled, and that was another welcoming.
Another great story.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, Kerry,
Wow.
we appreciate you sitting down with us.
We could keep you here in hours.
Oh,
more,
my God.
man.
Definitely.
I got to get back on the ice.
Yeah, well, thanks again, man. And you can definitely find us. We're on Spotify, Apple. So I'll put this together, edit it, and take a look, and definitely check us out. And we appreciate you sitting down with us.
So let's do a commercial here.
Okay.
Where can you be found? Where can I find you?
So Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, basically there's like 17 or 18 services. Anywhere where you can find a podcast, we're there. It's free. You just download the app if you have like smartphone, Apple, or Android.
And the name of this podcast is
Old Dirty Basement.
Oh, Dirty Basement.
Yeah, because we do it usually at my basement at my house and stuff like that. So
It's very nice. It's a very large, nice basement, but it doesn't sound as...
Yeah, we make it sound like it's not,
So it's not the man cave.
No,
Yeah,
sort of,
much.
yeah. It's not really an old, dirty basement. I get called out a lot when we have guests come down to the basement. Like, this is not dirty or old. And I'm like, yeah. The house was
Okay,
built.
listeners, this is from the ref. Kerry Fraser wants you to send your notes and tweets and tell us all about what you thought of this podcast, and if you learned anything from a one-eyed referee with one that works and one that doesn't.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I definitely get feedback on this. I'll put it out. Like, definitely look for it, and I appreciate it again. So can we get a picture real quick when we finish up?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was a great interview with the ref, Kerry Fraser, legendary ref, Kerry Fraser. We were so happy to have time with him, and we'd love to do it again sometime. So hopefully at another event, we'll catch up with him and get some more stories, because I'm sure he's got more to tell. But next up, we have Christian Hanson, who played his college hockey at University of Notre Dame. Matt and I like that a lot, big Notre Dame fans, so that was cool. And also played in the NHL. Also, his father, Dave Hanson, was in Slapshot, one of the Hanson brothers. So we got to sit down with him via Zoom. And with the Juice Man, John Gerio, we were all able to sit down and ask him a couple questions. So we're going to play that interview for you next. We hope you enjoy that. And make sure you guys tune in at the end of the week for our coverage of Slapshot on the Vintage Cinema Review. Christian will be joining us again for that in a little short interview at the beginning, along with Jeff Carlson, who we interviewed at the historic Hershey Park Arena. He sat down with us for about a half hour, and that interview will be included in the Slapshot Vintage Cinema Review. But for now, we want you to sit back and enjoy our interview with Christian Hanson. Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
With the Old Dirty Basement Podcast, here with special guest, Christian Hanson. How's it going, Christian?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Great,
good, man.
Great,
Doing
man.
good.
Thanks for joining
on.
us, man. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, so we have a special interview with Kerry Fraser, who was a legendary NHL ref. And we're lucky enough now to have a former NHL player here. So, Christian, it says here you were born in Glen Falls, New York, and you grew up playing hockey. Of course, your dad was Dave Hanson from the movie Slapshot. So tell us a little bit
Correct.
about that growing up and coming up through that.
It was pretty awesome. Quite frankly, I didn't really understand what it meant at a young age. I didn't see the movie till I was probably 13 years old. And so I remember being 9 years old and I was just getting into hockey, and that was around 1995. So my favorite players at the time were Martin Brodeur, Pavel Bure, those types of guys. And we were living in upstate New York, and my dad was going out to Los Angeles for a charity event. And I think Kerry Fraser was actually there, to be honest with you. I'll have to ask my dad. But, he took me along, and I was 9 years old, and I thought, okay, cool. To California with my dad. I didn't know what was going on. He said we're gonna go to Disneyland and have some fun. And 9 years old, I get to go on an airplane, hang out with my dad. I thought it was awesome. And I remember we walked into the locker room, and Marty Brodeur was there, Pavel Bure was there, Chris Chelios, Wayne Gretzky, and all these guys. As soon as my dad and the other brothers walked in, like, they were starstruck, and I was starstruck because, these were the guys I had posters hanging on my wall, but then these guys were looking at my dad like I was looking at them, and I wanted to run up to them, ask for autographs and photos, and they were doing the same thing with my dad, and I was so confused. I was like, Dad, what's going on here? Like, I don't get this. And he just brushed it off. He said, Bubs, that's just what happens when hockey guys get together. And so I really didn't understand it. And then when I was 13 years old, we were going on a youth hockey trip, and one of the dads actually put the movie in, and my parents weren't even on the trip. And that's the first time I ever saw the movie. And my dad's such a mild-mannered gentleman, and we didn't talk about Slapshot around the house. It's just, the house was the house. And, people were probably like, well, how did you not talk about Slapshot? And you say, well, think about it. Like, it's not like every Sunday we'd have a family ritual where we'd all sit around and watch Slapshot.
Yeah,
it's just something that never really happened. So I watched it on the bus and just, really was shocked, because my dad's such a mild-mannered guy, and to see him on TV and the way that they're acting in the movie. And so then, it kind of built from there. I was probably 15 or 16 years old, really starting to understand it. And I was playing out in Calgary at the time in a youth hockey tournament, and it was an international tournament. There was a team from Germany there. And I remember during the game, I was playing the game, and all of a sudden there's like a commotion up in the stands, and we looked up and really couldn't figure out what was going on. And then one of the parents afterwards told us that Team Germany had spotted my dad in the stands, and they were all coming up to him yelling lines in German. And
That's
and
wild.
so it's something neat, because I never really understood it. As you get older, obviously, you realize it. And the further you go in hockey, it's one of the first things that people talk about. It sticks out with my name. And, Hanson and hockey kind of go hand in hand. So it's been fantastic. But growing up, it was something that just really didn't understand. And the experiences of how I kind of realized what it was, it's kind of funny because you're able to talk about it now.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You guys got a question for Christian?
Yeah, so, I mean, Slapshot's a topic. I mean, what a great, fantastic movie. By far and away, my favorite sports movie. So there are people that love Rudy or people that love, Any Given Sunday or you name it, whatever. It's been Slapshot for me just forever, ever since I first saw it. Now, I came across an old wives' tale that I'd love for you to be able to, confirm, Christian. Now, there is a story. It's actually a part in the movie, I should say, where Jeff Hanson, the character, has a set of keys thrown at him by an angry fan from, the opposing team, from Syracuse in this case, in the movie's case. However, in real life, I'm sorry, I should say, so a lot of this was modeled after the team, the Johnstown Jets. That was basically the Charlestown Chiefs was essentially a made-up name for really the Johnstown Jets. And so a player for the Johnstown Jets, Jeff Carlson, was hit in the face by a cup of ice that was thrown by a fan. And he and his two brothers, Jack and Steve, all rushed the fans just like it was in the movie, but in this case, it's in real life. So I tell you all of that to get to the point. It is alleged that your dad was actually the hero when all three of these players were arrested. Your dad was the one that went out and collected all the bail money to get these guys out of jail. Is that true? Do you know anything about that?
I think it is true. And I think it was honestly just going around because the minors, you don't make a lot of money and you get per diem on the road. And so you get $35 to get your meal after the game. And I actually think my dad was the one who kind of went around with a cup kind of panhandling in the locker room, trying to get enough money from all the guys to be able to get them out of jail.
That is
I'll
awesome.
talk to him. But I think the funny thing is, Zap, is a lot of the stuff in that movie is more fact than fiction. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is the movie's based off that team, like you said. And what happened was there was a guy on the team, Ned Dowd, who played Ogie Oglethorpe in the movie. His sister, Nancy Dowd, was the screenwriter for the movie. So it all started because Ned was playing on the Johnstown Jets. And the antics that were going on were just out of this world. And so what happened was the guys realized after every game or on the bus, Ned would be sitting in the back of the bus talking to a tape recorder. And they're kind of like, what's going on? What's going on? Well, he was putting all these, like everything that was happening into a tape recorder, and he was shipping it off to his sister, Nancy, because she was out in LA and she was basically writing a screenplay based off of the real life team. And then it got to a point where like the last 3 months of the season, Nancy moved to Johnstown and followed the team around, kind of writing down everything that happened. And then she went and made a screenplay out of it. So the majority of the stuff that you see in the movie, people don't realize is more fact than fiction. It just has a little bit of a Hollywood twist to it. So I believe you when you say that it was, ice in real life, but it was keys to the camper in the movie. It was foil in the movie, but in real life, they used to actually take golf gloves. And the night before, when they were on the road, they would soak the golf gloves in water, put them on their hands, scrape up the knuckles, and then put them on the heater overnight so that they got all crusty.
Wow. That's awesome.
And the knuckles on the golf gloves got all hard, and then they try to get in a fight in the first period before the golf gloves got all soggy. So a lot of the stuff that you see in the movie, people don't realize, but there is more fact than fiction behind it.
That's amazing. That's the movie that wrote itself.
That's awesome.
I didn't understand that part in the movie actually when you talk about it, because they were doing with the tinfoil. The Hanson brothers were there, and I didn't understand if that was for fighting or like what necessarily. But yeah, okay,
absolutely for fighting for sure.
Cool.
And don't forget, now this again, as you're watching this movie, this is a 1977 movie before. Where I'm getting at is, helmet requirements.
Yes.
So, the action back then was a little bit slower paced. I mean, nowadays, these guys are just bullets. I mean, Christian will tell you that.
Yep.
These guys are just, trains going with 6,500 horsepower behind them, just blasting down the ice. So back then with no helmets and certainly thinner pads, you get the foil, or in this case, the the soaked golf
golf
gloves. You're in for a fight, man. You're absolutely in for it.
Yes, the pads didn't look like the pads of today.
No, no, sir.
No,
We didn't even have those in
Not at all.
Pee Wee football.
no. So Matt, what you got, bud?
No, just growing up in Glen Falls, that looked like kind of the area to where I guess your dad in the movie, like the Johnstown area, kind of looked like similar. But you said you didn't start skating till around 9, or you didn't start playing like organized hockey till about 9.
I started skating probably younger than that. We moved to Pittsburgh when I was 10, and that's when I really got into organized hockey. So when I was born in upstate New York, my dad originally was not involved in hockey, and then he got back into hockey. He took a job with the New York Islanders, where he became the GM of their American League affiliate, the Capital District Islanders. So that was probably around 1990 or 91, and that's when I really started to be around the rink more. And then from there, he transitioned to the Albany River Rats, who were the New Jersey Devils farm team. And then from there, that brought us to Pittsburgh. So I think that's really how I got into hockey. Was he got back into it in some capacity, I think around like 1990, 91. And, you know, as a little kid, you look up to your father, and my dad was always around the rink. So I was always around the rink and going in the locker room and being around the guys. You know, looking back, I was the annoying little kid that was always around the locker room and running up to the guys when they're trying to get ready for practice. And, you know, just being around it, I took a liking to it.
The only reason I asked is because when we talked to Kerry Fraser, he was saying, I think, like he was 6 months old or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was.
like
I don't know if the story was out of line, but he was
I
like,
think it was like 15 months old.
Yeah, he's like, I was 15 months and I started skating. I was like,
yeah.
wow.
They started early, yeah.
But yeah, for 9, that just sounded like older for somebody that played, you know, professional hockey and played for Notre Dame.
Yeah, so back to that. So, Kristen, you played college hockey in Notre Dame. Matt and I are big Notre Dame fans.
Go
so
Irish.
That's cool. Then you were in the NHL. You played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, played there for a while. You were on the Team USA World Hockey Championship team in 2010. And then you did some time with the Hershey Bears, who's a local team not far from where we're at. So did you have like a wow moment in the NHL? Like when you were in there, like you were playing next to somebody that you maybe idolized or looked up to, or was there any time where you were just like, it's surreal that I'm here and doing this?
Yeah, it's pretty neat because to circle back to that LA story, when I first started playing hockey, I was a goalie. And living in upstate New York, the only team that we got on TV was the New Jersey Devils. And Marty Brodeur was the goalie for the New Jersey Devils at that time. They won the cup. I think they won the cup in 95 or 95, maybe they won the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
And so, you know, he was my favorite player. And fast forward, I was signed with Toronto. 3 games into my NHL career, we're playing the New Jersey Devils in New Jersey. So I got to see Marty and talk to him a little bit in warm-ups. And then I scored my first ever goal in the NHL against Marty later that game. So that's really, one of the coolest things when you look back on hockey and where it took you and everything that happened, just to kind of come full circle. You know, growing up, I was, you know, a goalie. Favorite player was Martin Brodeur. And then you fast forward Pete Six, that was 95. And then 14 years later, when I was in 2009, be able to score my first NHL goal against him, it's a pretty cool story.
That is awesome.
Have a photo of it. Yeah, have a photo of it with the puck hanging in the basement.
Just surreal. Unbelievable.
That
would be cool to go down to your basement and say, hey, that's me.
Yeah,
scoring against Martin Brodeur. Look at me.
I know, right?
Look at me up there.
Yeah, right. You got any other questions, Zach?
No, I just wanted to stick straight with the.
Gotcha. So we did a little interview with Kerry Fraser, and I actually Jeff Carlson too for Slapshot. But with Kerry, were you ever in any games with him refereeing? Do you have any stories about him that you remember?
Kerry, not specifically. I'd have to go back. I don't remember exactly when Kerry retired, so I'm not certain if
he was gone.
If already. I did have him at all as a ref or not. Yeah, I would have to go back and double check to see when he stepped away from the game.
He did mention that during the game, sometimes the refs and players will be chirping back each other, talking and stuff. So you noticed that too when you were playing, that there's conversations.
Absolutely. I was always the guy you want to try to get the refs on your side.
Right.
More so, I was a centerman. So even more than the refs, I tried to make my best friends the linesmen, because face-offs were one of the big parts of my game. And if you get a linesman on your side, he'll help you cheat a little bit more. You know, if a guy's cheating a little bit, you try to get in the linesman's ear.
Nice.
So I was always more focused on, who are the linesmen tonight? How early can I befriend them? And then throughout the course of the game, how much are they going to kind of let me start cheating on face-offs, cheating a little more, because that's it. It works. I mean, it definitely works.
That's awesome.
Look, it's such a low-scoring game. You've got to get every angle, every advantage you can. I mean, my hat goes off to you for that, Christian. That's awesome. That's just the smart hockey right there.
Agreed. Yeah, so Christian, we're doing this Thursday will be a slap shot. We'll be reviewing that. So everybody look forward to listening. We'll have a little bit of Q&A here with Christian for slap shot. And we appreciate you coming on for this episode. And anything else, Matt, quick?
No, again, go Irish. Thanks for coming on, and appreciate it.
Cool.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging out in the old dirty basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.